we'll try this again. Now, as I was saying, I don't talk about things outside the sphere of Indo-European spiritual and magical ideas because that's not really my place. I'm a firm believer in that your racial group or your ethnic group carries your spirituality in what they call junk DNA. And if you're a member of different mixed races, you've got a lot of archetypes in you to play with. Now, and if you don't, you have very specialized archetypes to play with. Now, before I get started, disclaimer, Native Americans, okay, I would like, if you could, to add to this discussion. I'm not saying this is right. I'm saying this is a hunch, and I would like people's opinions on this. Now, when I lived in America, there was always a big thing if you're building a house somewhere to not build the house or build the factory or the so and so on top of a Native American burial ground. And it was considered that like in Ireland building a house on a fairy fort or not cutting down a fairy tree, all kinds of calamities would befall people who did this. You build a road across it, there'd be all car crashes on it. If you built a house on it, horrible things would happen inside the house. If it was a business built on it, the business would fail and go bankrupt and so on. Just exactly the same, really, as the stories with the fairy locations here in Ireland. Now, in America, that was a big thing, and I started to go visit Native American sites, particularly all over, really, in everywhere: Georgia, Alabama, New York State, Long Island, especially. There's loads out there. The Shinnecox, upstate New York, New England, wherever I could find the places. And I have to say that there was a frightening, sinister energy. There was definitely something there. Now, the standard model of this is that the spirits of the ancestors are protecting over the graves of the ancestors, okay? I don't know about that, and I'm not putting down Native American, anything. I have great sympathy for the Native American people. They're very much a destroyed people. Hopefully that they will come back, but they are in many ways. I think that they see what happens is the the Catholic, the Christians, and the Vatican, well, it's just not the Catholic people, the Vatican, has made a point of destroying indigenous, and the Presbyterians, destroying indigenous peoples around the world. The first ones were the European pagans. Remember, we got that first. And then after that, everything, the Africans and the Native Americans and Australian Aborigines, but the Native Americans got it awful. I mean, it's absolutely horrific what went on there, and so many white Americans are in complete denial about it. Like, it would be like, it's like there's a real, and that doesn't mean you have to atone for it in every aspect of your life, but so many people need to understand how horrible it was. But at the same time, too, it's not the fault of many Americans their ancestors came to the Wild West, and I'll explain that why, what really happened. Okay, this is my theory. Indian graveyards feel that way because they're nests of jinns or some kind of demon. And then people say to you, well, Thomas, how do you explain that one? It's a bit of a stretch. What are jinns doing at Native American graves? Well, who attacked the Native Americans first? The conquistadors. Where did the conquistadors come from? They came from Spain. Who did the conquistadors, previous Spaniards, liberate Spain from? The Moors. Who are the Moors? Muslims from the Middle East. Can you see where this is going? The conquistador was a carrier, a typhoid Mary of the initial jinn invasion into the United States. They came over on the Spanish galleons, and they slaughtered and massacred the Central American Indians, and that eventually spread into the North and South American Indians, tribal peoples. When the Spanish Empire lost its power, who defeated the Spanish Empire in the West? The USA. Remember, the USS, I think it was Havana, there was a false flag, they blew up a warship. And then the Spanish-American War happened. What did the jinns do? They jumped into the American military. What happened when all that was over and the American Civil War was over? They were slaughtering North American natives. Absolute and total near annihilation. What happened to the jinns after that? Well, because I don't, this is why I think we had these weird dancing rituals and everything when Indians were really at their end 100 odd years ago. I think the Native Americans, and not through their own fault, identified the wrong enemy. They just thought the white man, the European, they're all bad, they're all bad, they're all bad. They didn't understand that it was an entity, and maybe they did, and someone could correct me on this. An entity within certain settlers from Europe in America that was infecting them, and the battle was, and Native Americans people should have understood this, was military and spiritual. Why do you think there were so many? Ireland got this is a huge part of Ireland getting its independence from the British Empire. Is this country in the revolutionary movement at the turn of the 20th century was up to its tits in occultists. The Golden Dawn practically ran the 1916 rebellion in Dublin, and in the War of Independence was loaded with occultists. And William Butler Yeats, A.E. Russell, it just went, and even Crowley was involved in it. It just goes on and on and on. The battle was twofold. And the same thing, I think, that the Native Americans were just white man, but it was a special, an infected white man. A white man infected with a jinn that was doing it. And when the natives were dead, the jinns, almost like to harvest the energy, then went, just like the Babylonians say all demons do, to Indian graveyards. And Indian graveyards are quiet because a lot of European Americans won't go to them because, well, they don't want to face up to the fact of the horrors of it. You know, I'm not a belief in collective guilt, but I'm believing, like, acknowledge that these people went through absolute hell. And, you know, that kind of thing. So people sometimes, and this video is for a very dear friend of mine who was planning to go to a Native American graveyard to have some kind of communication. And I told them, just be careful. And this video, it explains why. Be careful.